Hello and welcome to the city of Pristina. This is my latest City Skylines creation, and I don't know why I've paused that recording. Keep it playing here. Pristina is a city of 132,000 people in City Skylines Sims, and today, since I mostly played for the public transit aspect, I wanted to kind of show off my public transportation system in my city since it's reaching a state where I'm just kind of adding bits and bobs. I think I'll still continue playing this map, but there's always, of course, more to do. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show off what I built in the public transit space here. I'll start here. The view over the entire city from Mount Raymond. I don't know why I named it Mount Raymond, but like a lot of things in the city, I just kind of came up with the names, so don't laugh. Names are hard. It's easy just to name things generically or just leave them unnamed, but I think adding names just gives a little bit more character. So this is Mount Raymond, and as you can see, we've got a great cable car network that comes up here to the mountaintop. There's some parks. There's a little walking trail. There's a precariously placed Japanese garden and parking lot where cars are liable to go sliding off the mountain off down to the back. There's some botanical gardens, and the way most everybody gets up here if they don't take the crazy mountain dirt road like this police car is doing. The way most people get up here is by taking the cable car. And the cable car goes down the mountain, and it connects to a really convenient little bus shuttle. So Sims walk across the street here in this kind of industrial area, and they catch the bus. And our bus line crosses the regional rail line and then heads down to the station. And this is one of the local stations on my city rail network. I haven't really called the city rail network anything, it's just the city rail network. But it uses this really great new section of stations. It consists of express train stations like this where local services stop on the two outer island platforms, side platforms, geez. And express trains can pass through the middle like you just saw that express train go through. I've got these in a couple places, but there's only one express service in the city. And then, of course, the local trains here stop on the side platforms. These are a Flirt train set I downloaded off the Steam Workshop. They're really cool. And then there's an express train. This is the Mason Station, and the Mason Station is named off of the street. These stations generate a lot of noise, so you can see these Sims are not happy about that, but I want people to live near transit and having to deal with a little bit of noise. Also, I think the noise levels that radiate off these stations are a little unrealistic. Well, this line is my west rail line, and as you can see, it's kind of separated from this rail line, and that's because in City Skylines I like to separate my inter-regional trains from my intra-city trains. I don't like the stray inter-city trains showing up on my rail lines. I like to control what's on the city train lines. So this one is unregulated traffic. The game just sends whatever, when it needs. When Sims want to visit my city, they can choose to take the train or fly, or take a boat, or drive in. So it just spawns whatever trains need to come into the city. And it's one of 3 inter-regional lines that serve my central station. And I think that's a good place to head, because it's kind of the hub of the whole transit system. So again, from the Mason Station, local trains on this west city line, this west rail line, serve, and also there's express trains. This station is the Civic Center Station, or Civic Stadium Station. And the express trains do stop here. That's because this is also kind of the entertainment district. It's an important stop for people who are visiting and going to a soccer game. So I felt it was important for express trains to stop here. And And from here, there's just passing a couple local stations. This one is Westport. This one is Siobhan. It's just named after the street, of course. It's whatever the game named it. And goes past this little overpass, and then into the center station. This station is the hub, the whole network. It's got a little neighborhood built around it that really serves transit. A couple of bus lines stop here. But really, the centerpiece of the intercity and regional rail network. So, from the city center station, there are 3 routes the trains take. There's this west line. There's this kind of city center route. And then there's these 2 bridges that go over to the east side of the city. Of course, one of those is carrying all 3 routes carry both interregional traffic, so trains going to other cities, or I should say intercity trains, and then local trains. And there's also conveniently a little railroad museum here. I figured, maybe there was a rail yard here at one point, and an old roundhouse that's now been used as a train station. So, of course, just the old steam locomotive, and the station. Most of these platforms are used. I think I've got a couple spares, like this one's unused, this one's unused, so I could run more services through here in the future. Nice little Dosto locomotive haul train coming in, like that. And they're all through platforms, except for this one, serving the local services on the west line. So that's good. So trains can come in from one place and leave and go to another place most of the time. But since I didn't want to commingle these tracks, a train can't come in from the east and then go out to the west. It just doesn't work. They can come in from the city center line and then exit out towards the west line, but they don't often do that. Okay. So let's reorient ourselves north. And also, since this is the hub of the network, there is a combined metro station. The centerpiece of the metro network is underneath the central station. So that's a cool feature. Let's zoom out. Let's get a big picture view of how the city works. So, as you can see, there's many neighborhoods. This is the downtown central core, and then Westport. This is the highest density, the urban core of the city. There's this kind of industrial area, Heaviside Bottoms. There's this really low density, almost suburban area called Ocean View, or an Upper Heaviside. This I kind of envisioned as like, it was an older city, maybe a streetcar suburb originally, and then it's kind of been upzoned, and now is a high density core. And then, the city kind of suburbanized out this way towards the east. And then New East Side, of course, this is I needed more high-density zones in my city, so I built what I kind of thought of it as a transit-oriented development around this metro station. So really high density, right on the fringe of the city, adjoining this highway, right on the very edge of town. Then up here is the neighborhood of Pristina Cliffs, as the terminus of one of the city rail lines. This I envisioned as like a small town, maybe like a quaint city, quite far away from downtown Pristina. All low density, of course. This really beautiful park and lighthouse. And yeah, it's a good place to look at this rail line. This is the terminus of the Pristina Cliffs line. It's also using the flirt equipment. All the city trains use flirts. It has this really nice station. And what I would like to do is extend this line under the bridge on the highway underpass and then do like a yard or something, a turn-back facility where trains can be serviced. This is not a really convenient place to do that here at this station. Not a lot of room. Next stop down is the Ocean View Transit Center. This is the terminus of the metro. The metro does make it out this far. There's a college here. A couple of bus lines terminate here. And there's a connection, of course, with the Pristina Cliffs line. We'll get to the metro in a little bit. The Pristina Cliffs line goes to this really interesting interchange here. Of course, I didn't want to intermingle the intercity trains from the intracity trains, So there's this nice bridge separating the two as they go into the city. And then the Heaviside Station. I hate it when City Skylines repeats a bunch of these buildings, but you know, that just is what it is. Alright, Heaviside Station, a very important stop. Again, very high density, and uses this unique double island platform style design, so trains from both lines can stop. And you'll see this is really useful, even since there's two train lines that come through here, and neither of them are express. They're both local services. They stop at all stations. But frequently, I will see all four platforms being used with trains just because the dwell times are quite long here. Just because there is so much traffic. This is one of the busiest stations in the city. And, yeah, this train sits here at the platform a long time. Another train can come up behind. They can go right into the platform. It doesn't have to wait. So, that's why I did these two stations, actually, as four platform stations on a two-track line. Here's another one. This is the upper Heaviside, or what do I call this one? Bottoms? Yeah, because it's near the Heaviside Bottoms. And there's a bus line that connects you to that neighborhood. Alright, and then trains go into the bridge and into Central Station. The other line is kind of the east side rail line. So shares tracks here on this kind of core route. This really high density route gets a lot of traffic. And of course you can choose any train on your island platform to get to where you need to go, which is convenient. And then on this platform you can change. You can either go south along this curve, or you can go north up to Pristina Cliffs, which is very helpful. Okay, so if you choose to go south, you stop at this station. Again, the idea was this is kind of an older streetcar suburb maybe, and this was originally, on this existing rail right-of-way, and then it just by coincidence serves this really high-density neighborhood over here, industrial zone. So there is the capacity to walk from this station, this little parking area across. As you can see, this little sim's going to do. But it's kind of a quiet station, not a lot going on here. There's a bus route that serves this station. Otherwise, not too much going on. Then you head down here to this East Side Transit Center. This is one of the East Town Transit Center. It serves the transit-oriented development. It serves inner-city trains as well as the metro. Okay, so those are the two rail lines that serve the east. There are two rail lines that serve kind of the middle part of the city, and here's one leaving now, and there's the other one. It's going to follow shortly after, so we'll follow the second train. Yep, here it comes. So both these trains are one after the other, right kind of in the shadow of the skyline, right along the river. They curve under the highway bridge and come into this train station. And I really like this approach here, because it maximizes the number of routes that people have. Again, on the island platform, you can choose which line you're going to take. You can split and do cross-platform transfer. This is heading off of this definitely too tight of a turning radius bridge. But you gotta do what you gotta do in this game to get over the inner-city trains. And then the other line heads kind of straight south. This I called the city center, or metro center line. And this I call the Leech River line or something. Leech Park, maybe. That's because I named this neighborhood Leech Park, and then West Leech over here. I don't know why. Me with names, just coming up with stuff as we go. So over here at Leech Park, there's another island-style local station. Doesn't get very many boardings, but it is a major connection with the bus network. Trains go under this bridge. This is a very controversial level crossing. I couldn't figure out how to serve this local road and make things elevated, so it stayed as a level crossing for a while. This is one of the busiest roads in the whole city, and yeah, it's still a level crossing. I think I'm okay with that. Kind of like that extra level of complexity you get every once in a while. Okay, so around the curve here under this other bridge to West Leech, kind of want to change the station maybe at some point, but it is what it is. It serves this industrial area and a few local bus lines. Then it connects over here. These three stations, There may be the fare card transfer available here, but you know they're all kind of close together. I called this the crossing. That's because there's this cool little cable car line that crosses over. There really wasn't space or the ability to do a bridge because there's not enough room for the approach. But as you can see, the metro line does cross the river here, but no cars. You can cross by metro, and you can connect down here and take the cable car, or you can, you know, take the train to Leech Crossing and walk over to the cable car stop, and catch a bus over here. Very congested industrial zone over on the other side of the river. But the line does continue south. It goes into the suburban neighborhood called Whitehall. And the Whitehall station has bus routes on either side. Oh, there's a helicopter here coming to dump out a fire. It's no longer burning. Interesting. But yeah, so this is a suburban station. It's kind of the hub for this suburban area. Bus routes come from around these little streets and feed this. There's also kind of an industrial zone over here. Alright, and as trains leave this Whitehall station, they cross under again the main line and then curve into the main station, very, very important station on the network, which is Southern Cross. Southern Cross District. This is another change between, and you can do this at many places around the city, but it's a changeover between the city trains, or like S-Bahn service, and you can cross the street and connect to Metro. This is the southern terminus of the Metro line, and there's kind of this neat little yard over here where you can turn back Metro trains, just like there is on the north side. So again, Southern Cross here on the southern side of Pristina. Very, very important stop on the line because while it looks like it's a through station, this is actually the southern terminus for 3 rail lines. So of course there's this Leech rail line, and then there's the city center rail line. So we'll take the next city center train that comes through, or nope, maybe one's already left. So we'll just observe the line here. So it stops here at Southern Cross, curves out the same way through the yard, passes the tunnel interchange, and heads straight north, paralleling this really nice bike path. There comes a train now. This is the Jennings Crossing, Jennings Parkway station, so right at the highway. Maybe it's a park and ride in one version of this game. But yeah, Jennings Parkway, that's also next to what I call the Jennings Addition, suburban zone. This line was built with the capacity to eventually add express trains, but does not currently utilize that capacity. That's in case I want to add service farther south, or maybe over here as I further develop this area. Right. Another very important station on the network is Metro Center. So this is where Metro trains are coming in from the east part of town. Passengers can change to the Metro Center line, the city center line, and then theoretically could also change to intercity services here at Metro Center Station. Some people are doing, they're changing between modes. That's great, I'd like to see that. I would like to have seen like a ground level station. Maybe there's one in the workshop that combines Metro and rail service, but again, it doesn't exist just yet as far as I know. There goes a Metro train. And then just a really, really short jaunt north is the Woodhull Road station. Woodhull Road serves this high-density zone. And it, again, it is very close to Metro Center, but I don't have any paralleling bus routes. And, you know, still feel like it's a useful station. Doesn't get very many boardings, just 68. But that's okay. It's alright to have some low-use stations. And we're back here to the Midtown. What do they call this? Midtown? Lower Downtown. Lower Downtown station. Okay, so we've covered all the rail routes. The West Line, I guess we still have the express service to cover there. And then the 2 lines that come south, one straight through the city down to Southern Cross. The other one that kind of curves this way through Leech Park, West Leech, Jennings, and Whitehall down here. And then of course course, there's this transit center over here, so we've covered most of the rail lines. I guess we didn't cover the southern portion of the West Line. So we'll go back here to the Mason station where we got the bus and the cable car down from the mountain. So at Mason, of course, you can also go south. And you can go south to the... Oh, not Skylines, Scott. This is Mount Raymond Station, serving the Mount Raymond neighborhood. It's also an express station. And it's the final opportunity to change for trains destined either to Southern Cross on the West Line or to the airport on the Express Line. Here's an Airport Express train coming through. We'll stop. We'll see if anybody changes services here to the locals. No, not too many people changing for the local train. But they could do that here if they wanted to. Does anyone change it to the Express? Okay, well, definitely a place that you can do that, even though there aren't very many people that do. We'll follow this local train, going over a couple local crossings here, over the highway. I'm not really proud of this bridge. I would have liked to do something different with the highway here, but I don't really know how better to get the rail line across, so I guess elevated for now is okay. This is where trains split, so express trains go south to the airport. The local trains stop here at this park and ride location. Of course, there is a suburban bus route that serves the neighborhood. But what did I call this? I called this River Dance. River Dance Estates. It's a suburban area in a park and ride. And then they go south and then straight into Southern Cross. And at Southern Cross they turn back. Again, you can change to other services. There is an open platform here. And like I said, I eventually would like to develop this part of the map, and so trains from Southern Cross or from this Midtown line, or maybe even from that Easttown Transit Center where trains terminate now, could go further south and serve maybe, I'm thinking maybe a cool little town in this peninsula would be a good spot for some more train service. Alright, the only other part of the line we didn't cover on the City Rail Network is the Airport Express. So the Airport Express trains come south from their divergence there at Riverdance. They cross over this interregional line here, or intercity line. Nope, there's a train exporting some goods out of the city. And this is the town called Corinth. Not a whole lot going on in Corinth. It's a small town, a little industrial, a little commercial, right on Main Street, and some residences. And Corinth mainly just serves this agricultural field thing that they make you do in this game. And the express trains don't stop here. These are important business people. They've got to get to the airport. They don't need to stop at a small little town. They can take the bus. And there is a bus. And that gets us down to the airport. This is the Pristina National Airport. And wow, I got a big crowd waiting for a train. 227 people. I don't even think the train holds that many. It holds 180. So, honestly, either we need to change services. Yeah, full. These trains are full. We need to select a different vehicle. We'll get to that in a little while. Trains are full running out to the airport. It's a good problem to have. I like that airport services are attracting a lot of attention. And it's an express, it goes direct. The airport gets service mostly from U.S. carriers here. Got a little American Eagle CRJ 200. How many people it's got? 34 people in the city. It's okay. We've got an Allegiant MD-80. It's coming in with 112, so those flights are pretty full. That's good. Doing good work here at the airport. That's why the trains are full, for sure. Just one runway. I hate the airplane behavior, but it is what it is. What can you do? Okay, so we're at the airport. And there's the station. Little support area. and the rail line headed up back north to the city. One of the things I'm the most proud of in this city is the metro system. We've seen it a little bit as it interacts with the rail network. The reason I'm proud of the metro is that one, because it does intermingle so well with the city trains, also because it's mostly overground, and my favorite thing about the metro is that it is one line. The metro is 21, I believe, 21 stations, and it runs in kind of a, I don't know what to call it, it's like a lasso shape. So from Southern Cross, straight through the heart of the city, past this University District, to the city center station, where maybe it gets colored a different color on the map, but it's the same train, curves through downtown, heads to this most dense, the like beating heart of the city, comes up above ground here, through the city center, crosses over itself here at what I call Crossings in MoMA. That's because the Museum of Modern Art is here. Through Metro Center, again another interchange with the rail line, across the river, through the East Side Transit Center, through the transit-oriented development, up the east side of town, and then up to the Ocean View Transit Center. And we'll do kind of a close-in view of all that. It finally terminates here at Ocean View with this nice little yard where trains can be stored. It's probably the main maintenance and operations facility. Also this cool turn-back loop if they need to do that. So again, Ocean View Transit Center is an important node in the network because you can change between the metro and train service. You can change between a number of local bus lines. This is also one of the few sections where trains go underground. So they go underground and then reappear right on the other side of the highway and come into this station. This is the Minotaur Station, named because I couldn't find anything better to call this mine. Trains stay above ground, they curve and go elevated through this big important station. This is one of the most boardings, the entire station on the network. Yeah, 556 boardings. Very, very busy station. Okay, from there we're gonna go kind of around this traffic circle, roundabout, whatever you call this, and into the Easton or East Side Transit Center. Again, very important. There's the Roadkill University over here, and the East Side Transit Center Railway Station. Another brief little underground section as we cross under the inner city line and a couple of local roads before going above ground here. East Town, this was like my starting square. This was the, it looked different of course, but this is the starting interchange and highway. This is where the whole city started. So once I unlocked the metro, this whole section kind of got retrofitted in. But I still think it looks nice. This station serves one or two local bus routes and gets across the highway here, no problem, and across the river. This I called the Charles and Chester neighborhood. That's because there's Charles Boulevard here and Chester Boulevard here. And then immediately the next station is Metro Center. Again, we looked at that when we saw the Metro Center line. Trains then go through the city center. Crossings in MoMA, very important station on the network. I know I said that a lot, but believe me, very important. Because this is where you can interchange between the same metro line. From the above ground network, you can do this quick little walk and get underground for this station. Little John. These are trains going north-south, trains going east-west. Very, very close. And of course, connections to local bus routes, and a quick walk over to the Museum of Modern Art. Alright, trains come up here to the Brookside Station, serving this high-density zone. And then they come up here and serve the Audrey Road Station, kind of on the fringe of downtown here. Right after Audrey Road, they're going to dive underneath the highway real quick, come above ground, and then go below ground. This is the beginning of the subway. And the subway, let's see, I need to do that. Best way to show you the subway is probably just to open up the line tool so we can see it. Trains are coming through this subway station, this subway station, this subway station, before they curve around into Central Station. So you can interchange with all the intercity trains, 2 more underground stations here, and then come above ground. I think there's just a total of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stations in this downtown subway tunnel. And that is very cool. I like how much the system is above ground. I think a lot of people that play City Skylines tend to spam underground metro stations. And here I tended to follow the realistic pattern of more like higher density of stops, but also higher density of development. So only here in the central downtown core do you get this really high intensity metro service. Again, 3 stops just right in these couple blocks. Trains curve around through downtown, and then 3 more stops here on the west side of downtown. I think it's pretty realistic. Okay, after that we hit the university station. This university is the only like technical university. There's a couple of faculties here, so you can choose your study. Biodome, nice little park. Would otherwise be an urban campus, but I kind of like how this looks. Trains, then of course go underground for the crossing station. 2 more quick stops on the south side. Maybe these are like the close-in suburbs, the low-density area, still within the center part of the city. Cross over the highway. I call this neighborhood the village. These are my suburbs. So trains are running literally through people's backyards here. It comes back above ground and Southern Cross, the southern terminus of the network. So there's the metro. We kind of looked at the metro, we looked at the different intercity rail lines. Pretty proud of this. Relatively few highways. Another thing that tends to get overbuilt. Just an interesting tidbit about how the city developed. This highway, of course, this was the starting highway they provided you. Sometimes I delete it, but in this case, I did want a way that you could drive high speed from the highway into downtown. And at the time, I hadn't unlocked these squares yet. So I built this highway, terminated downtown, and then I extended it here through the west side. And realized after I unlocked these squares that it was silly, since the highway, intercity highway, came from up here, that you had to drive clear down here and then exit and then go back up north to get to downtown. I figured there needed to be this bypass, so that's why I built this bypass. But I didn't want intercity traffic using it to get from this side of the map to this side of the map, or at least if they were going to use it, they were going to pay a toll. So that's why I included tolling on this road. This is the North Cutoff or North Tollway. And I feel like it's not terribly invasive. I tried to limit the number of urban highways in this map. There's some rural highways that I'm okay with. Down through here. In fact, this area gets really, really busy with traffic. I'm trying to enter the freight railway depot. Down here, there's a ton of traffic. So I don't really know what to do with all that. I didn't run a highway down to this part of the map, and now I kind of think with this oil industry and this farming industry, it probably did need highway access. And I tried. There's an exit off this highway. I'm trying to get people to avoid using this road, but, since that's the most direct route, that's the way a lot of people go. Maybe I'll just upgrade this road to a wider street, and that'll fix it. I don't know, I kind of like the little 2-lane highway look. Anyway, that's my city of Pristina, and the public transit network. I guess briefly before I stop the recording, I can show you the bus networks, just to show you that all these connections to local bus services do exist. So as you can see, Southern Cross gets a lot of its own unique bus services down here, some that serve the village, one that kind of goes up north into the city center, a couple of bus services serving Whitehall. most of the major streets have bus routes, as long as there's not a parallel rail service. I try not to cannibalize the rail service. Some rail stations do have bus services between the two of them, but just like they serve more local customers, or like they serve this main road that doesn't have subway or anything else on it. A lot of bus services up in this rural, I can't say rural, but like suburban zone. A lot of complicated bus routes downtown. This is an area that needs some bus routes. I just built this area, and it doesn't have bus service yet. So it's this cool little island out here. So maybe they'll get transit service at some point. Kind of thought this would be like a little retreat or small town out on this island. Maybe, I don't know what's going on out there. Needed a place for the roads to go, I guess. Alright, so yeah, that's my city. Hope you enjoyed my tour of the transit. Maybe I'll come back and give you an update once I build out this part of the map, but in the meantime, that's all I have for you. Let me figure out how to stop the recording.